Hello world! I just got back from watching the Warcraft film, and I thought I'd share my 2 cents or 2 copper with you guys. Now, huge disclaimer, I'm a huge Warcraft fan. I've played Warcraft 2, I played a huge amount of Warcraft 3, and I played a ludicrous amount of World of Warcraft, which I still play even to this day. Now, on the flip side of the coin, I'm not a film critic. I've never taken a film studies class in my entire life. And there have been times where I've found Oscar-winning films to not be that good, while simultaneously finding films that were critically panned to be amazing. So, my opinion, however biased or unprofessional it may be, will be honest and unfiltered. But from my entire point of view, so please take it with a grain of salt. That said, I really enjoyed the film. It was a lot of fun watching. A lot of game-to-movie adaptations can be best described as phoned in or corporate cop-outs. Movies such as Hitman or Doom or anything by Uwe Boll like House of the Dead or Blood Rain, there's not that much production value. There's very little, if at all, any nods to the source material, and generally just there to make a quick buck. I don't really see that in the Warcraft film. It looks like an effort, a very sincere effort put in by creators of the game such as Blizzard and fans such as Duncan Jones and Robert Kaczynski. I believe that's the name of the guy who plays Ogrim Doomhammer. Some of the actors have played the game before. The director has certainly played the game before. And the bottom line is, if you're a hardcore fan of Warcraft, you're going to love this film. And the production value, like I said, most game-to-movie adaptations have very terrible production value, and that's just not the case with this film. This film has amazing set pieces that I just found myself sometimes lost in, and the CG, of course, they don't make a film good. There are plenty of great films with not that good special effects, and there's also horrible films with amazing special effects. Star Wars prequel trilogy. But I can say that they were very faithful with how they presented a lot of the cities like Stormwind, Deadwind Pass, Dalaran, Karajan, not to mention the little details such as the Lion's Pride Inn in Goldshire and Ironforge, and just these tiny little things that any player of World of Warcraft would be able to relate to instantly and just be like, hey, I pass by that zone practically every day. Another huge point is the magic. And a lot of other people say that one of the positive points is the magic, and I do agree with them. It's absolutely out of this world. Some of my friends who watched it with me told me that Lord of the Rings couldn't even make magic that good looking. I mean, most magic that's presented in film is just gusts of wind blown about, or maybe tiny little specks. But this was just full-blown swirls of energy and orbs and different sort of scryings. Of course, I'm not really doing any of it justice. It really has to be seen to be believed. In fact, I'd be willing to say that anyone who's inspired by the film to go play the game will probably be rolling a mage or a warlock. And the story was not so bad. I say not so bad because the story for Warcraft 1 is extremely elementary and extremely one-dimensional. It could be explained in one sentence. The humans are defending themselves from this invading orcish horde that wants to destroy everything. So, props to Duncan Jones for adding some multi-dimensional moral dilemmas to it, sort of explaining that the orcs have their reasons for invading Azeroth and the humans have their reasons for not trusting the orcs. As for the criticism, which I mostly disagree with, some of it was quite valid. There were some points that felt kind of rushed. I won't go into too much detail, but the way in which one character develops, I felt that there was a huge gap between the first phase of this character's development and the second phase, and I'd be very curious as to see what was cut, because I felt that maybe this character's development was cut. Another criticism I have is the fact that maybe the references were too hardcore and esoteric, that only hardcore Warcraft fans, and I'm saying hardcore lore geeks such as myself who have knowledge of the lore on the level of, say, YouTuber Novel87. There were some scenes, few and far in between, that only lore geeks, like I mentioned above, would be able to understand. But they don't detract from the overall quality of the film. It just kind of makes perhaps the standard moviegoer go, huh? What the hell is going on? Now, for what it's worth, the majority of us who went were Warcraft fans, but one of us never even touched a single Warcraft game at all. And at the very end of the movie, he said that in spite of not knowing anything about Warcraft, he found the movie very easy to follow, which I find quite surprising because there's a lot of different characters, there's a lot of different names, there's a lot of different things going on that some people might take time to familiarize themselves with. And speaking of which, my final criticism is that they are making this film with the intention of making a franchise. There were plenty of different sequel hooks in the movie. There were the appearance of certain things that alluded to Warcraft 2 and Warcraft 3, or at least the story that Warcraft 2 and Warcraft 3 cover, that I felt wasn't exactly necessary in the film if it was to be a standalone effort. Of course, it looks like they're definitely going to go through with making it a series. And I guess that's the ultimate fault of the film. It's the ambition. And I kind of can see where the critics are coming from when they say that there's tons of ambition riding on this film, and that there's a lot of things that Duncan Jones has to compress into one feature film. But once again, these are little chinks in the armor of what is ultimately an enjoyable summer blockbuster. Will it win an Oscar award? I don't think so. But is it absolute doo-doo? I also don't think so. So the bottom line is, if you're a fan of Warcraft, do yourself a favor and watch the movie. You won't regret it. And if you're not a fan of Warcraft, or if you're just a standard moviegoer and you feel like giving this movie a chance, please do go for it. If I didn't know any better, I think a lot of the negative criticism is there just for attention. Of course, there are some negative criticism I do agree with. Take, for example, a lot of the hate that Batman vs. Superman got, I definitely agree with, and I honestly think that film wasn't very good. But in this case, I have to be against the critics on this one. This film has probably gotten a little too much dirt than it deserved. And, well, once again, it won't break the video game curse, but it is a really good step in the right direction. And if they're making a sequel to this film, I'd be very interested in what they have to say. I can't really talk any more about this film because I feel like I want to get into spoilers. And while most Warcraft players probably know what's going to happen in the film before even watching it, well, spoilers are spoilers. And I'd be happy to talk with that with only people who've seen the film. But either way, thank you very much. Do you agree with the critics? Do you not agree with the critics? Please let me know in the comments below. And I wish you all a very good night. Thank you very much.